This is wildlife biologist Eric Orr from What's Wild in New Hampshire. Hey, today I got Dan Bailey. Dan Bailey from Fishing Game. Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what we got sitting right here. And, the big question here, it is the end of March. Are the bears out? Or what about my bird feeder? Can I keep feeding birds, or are the bears out? And Dan's going to talk about protecting beehives and maybe poultry, things that you might have if you are a gentlewoman farmer. So Dan, tell us about where you work and what are you up to? And hey, Dan, are the bears out?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. My name's Dan Bailey. I'm the wildlife damage specialist with New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. I'm stationed out of the USDA Wildlife Services office, so it's a unique role.
Right in Concord.
Right in Concord, working for two agencies, and my primary role is dealing with wildlife damage abatement throughout most of the state, mostly southern New Hampshire, but throughout the summer that entails a lot of human bear conflicts, as well as damage to our commercial growing crops at our orchards, which sometimes involves deer as well. And yes, the bear are beginning to come out. It's the end of March now. I was looking back, and last year we started getting calls right around the first week of March. And they're starting to slowly roll in now, but bear definitely out on the landscape.
Climate change. Bears are coming out earlier. Yep.
And they're looking for food. And as you know, Eric,
they haven't been eating for 6 months. Guess who's hungry? You can't be hungrier than a bear.
Yeah. And this time of year, there's not a lot of food on the landscape for them. So it's important that, as homeowners, we protect, our resources and make sure that they're not available to bear. That's really going to knock down those conflicts throughout the year. So starting now is key, because a lot of our calls come, early spring.
Yeah, it's kind of the big bubbles right here in the spring, right?
Yep.
How many a year are you on average, say?
I'd say around 800 to 1,000
Really?
calls, bear calls.
Bear calls, really?
It depends on the year. It can be a little less.
Yep, all depends on food availability.
Depends on food availability, but a lot of those come in the spring, so it's, making sure that people
Now's the time.
aware. Yep, so it is time to take down those bird feeders. See some in the backyard there.
Hey, there's nothing on them. I've got bluebirds, and I am not taking in my suet.
But driving down the road, I'm seeing a lot of bird feeders. It's time to get those in, because those are going to be something that bear are going to key in on. And bear are smart; they come back to check. So if you have a bear hit your feeder one night, good odds that he's going to hang around and keep checking back.
They got a good memory.
They do. Trash is another one, making sure garbage is secured, because it's another easy meal that they can get. And behind me we have an electric fence, which is, our primary protection, which is, people's primary protection if they have any kind of backyard livestock or hives, so apiaries. So this is a, simple setup, but, $150 investment to protect your resource. So whether that be if you're picking up chicks this spring, if you already have chickens, if you're getting into beekeeping, you're going to want to pick up an electric fence, because it's going to stop a lot of hassle down the road.
And save you some money in the long term.
Save a lot of money in the long run, because something like this, well-maintained, simple fence is 90% of the time going to keep out a bear. So bear are very susceptible to electricity.
Any other livestock, pigs?
Yeah, certainly. We get calls all year from pigs, goats, sheep, all being involved with bearing.
Okay. So get those fences up.
Get those fences up, especially, backyard poultry and bird feeders are our biggest calls.
Okay.
So make sure that, you have a fence installed. If you don't, give us a call, and, I can certainly help you out, walk you through.
What's the number, Dan?
The number for my office, you can either call headquarters, and they'll transfer you over, which is 271-2461.
Yep.
Or my number is 603-223-6832, which will get my office.
Okay.
So you can get in touch with me, or check out just any of your local hardware stores are going to have these supplies, usually where you're picking up chickens.
Yep.
Any Agway.
Like Tractor Supply, Agway, yep. Blue Seal. Yep, nice.
So yeah.
So protect your livestock and your bees, and garbage away, bird feeders down. It's that time of year.
Yep. Anything that can be an attractant to bears, make sure that you're taking that in. because they are hungry right now. They're going to be keying in on these areas, trying to find an easy meal.
And the fact is, we have more bears in New Hampshire now, speaking as the former bear biologist at New Hampshire Fish and Game, close to 7,000 bears, according to Andy Timmett. So we have more bears now than during colonial times. So no matter where you live in New Hampshire, you have a bear as a neighbor.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Every town, I get calls from every town in the state. Doesn't matter, seacoast even, every year.
Yep.
So it's, and it's great that we have that we can enjoy bears in this state. But let's make sure we're doing it at a distance and responsibly, and,
Yep.
and not having them up on our porch and our glass slider trying to get at our bird feeders and our trash. And
It makes such a cute picture, though.
yeah, can't argue with that. But yeah, so it's spring and it's time to start getting bear aware.
Bear aware. Okay, now, we saw something in the paper the other day about this avian influenza, and I know Wildlife Services has kind of been working on that, working with Jessica Carloni, the New Hampshire Fish and Game waterfowl biologist. I talked to her the other day, and of course, beginning this winter when they did the winter banding, Wildlife Services were checking for the virus. And what'd you find, Dan? What's going on with the avian virus, and what should homeowners be prepared to do?
Yeah, so Tony Masante, who is a wildlife disease biologist with Wildlife Services, he would be the main point of contact there, but I can speak for some of that. During regular monitoring this winter, high path avian influenza was detected in wild mallards in Rockingham County.
Yep.
And what that really means for our birds is we really don't want that getting into our domestic poultry. So, these mallards that we swabbed, we're really showing no clinical signs and usually won't. But if that disease gets into our domestic poultry, it's very lethal. So trying to limit, any kind of movement between either facilities. So if you have backyard chickens and your friend has backyard chickens, maybe you don't, mix going back and forth. Also, trying to limit feeding waterfowl. If you're in an area where you're going to feed the ducks and you're stepping in that feces, then going home and you have domestic chickens, that's a good way to spread.
Oh boy, so yeah, stop feeding the ducks.
Stop feeding the ducks.
And make sure if you got a pond on your property,
yeah,
that's just a no-brainer. Don't feed them.
Right. Yeah. So right now it's in wild populations of mallards and geese and other waterfowl.
Now you said you saw some mortality down on the coast probably from this.
Yeah, there was some geese, were found dead in the Bellamy River, and those tests came back as positive for
Okay.
AI. So, it's likely that's what caused it. I think Jess could answer more to that.
Yeah. So we're basically probably surrounded by this virus right now.
Yeah, and it certainly, likely came down the flyway during the migration, we would assume.
Yep.
And it's, speaking with Tony, it's likely going to be around for a while.
Okay. All right. So another thing to be careful if you got livestock, you got chickens or ducks or geese or turkeys, make sure you don't get into trouble and bring it home.
Something to be aware of for sure.
Yeah. Nice.
And if you see any signs of your chickens acting strange or dying, whether that be domestic birds or wild birds, please report that.
Okay.
Either to Fish and Game or to Wildlife
To
Services.
271-2461.
Yep.
I mean,
you had that.
yeah, I did.
The Wildlife Division.
Hey, I've been retired 15 years next month. Some numbers are still there.
Yeah, so please report that if you see any mortality, domestic or wild.
All right, awesome, Dan. Thank you very much, Dan. So here, I'm going to step back. We're going to look at this electric enclosure. Make sure if you got bees or chickens or pigs, you got to protect, and goats and waterfowl. You got to protect them with an electric fence. This is wildlife biologist Eric Orr for What's Wild in New Hampshire.